Lisa, and I'm so glad that you've decided to take this first step in finding out about the different sleep training methods and how to choose a method that's right for you and your little one. So there are 5 different sleep training methods, and these go from the gentlest to the least gentle, and I'm going to start with the gentlest. So the most gentle form of sleep training is pick up and put down. Now, this type of sleep training is probably more suited to babies younger than 6 months of age, because what this method involves is putting your baby down while they're drowsy but awake, and if your baby cries, picking them up, comforting them. Once they stop crying, putting them back down. And you keep doing this until they eventually fall asleep. Now, as you can imagine, that does take a lot of time as a parent, a lot of discipline and a commitment. And if your baby's older than 6 months, you're likely to get a lot of protesting from the constant picking up and putting down. But if you've got a baby under 6 months, that is something that you could consider, and it basically has no crying, because the moment your little one cries or fusses, you pick them up, you comfort them, and then you put them down. So that's the most gentle. Then we go on to fading, also known as faded out, and this is probably the second most gentle form of sleep training. Now, what this involves is you continue to do what you've always done to put your little one to sleep, but you do less of it each night. So, as an example, if you currently rock your baby to sleep, you will continue to rock them, but this time don't rock them quite so long and then put them down. Next night, you rock them for even less, or after a few nights, should I say, you rock them even less and then you put them down. So gradually you're fading out whatever you're doing now to get your baby to sleep until eventually you're no longer doing it. And that is really what the faded out or fading method involves. The next method is called the chair method. So with this method, what it means is that as a parent, you put your little one down to sleep, drowsy but awake, and you sit next to them, either you or your partner sit next to them in a chair next to the cot. And whenever they cry, without really a lot of touch, you more just offer comfort. Maybe a gentle pat, but it's more comforting, verbal comforting, saying some shushing, it's okay, but you're there. Every time they fuss, you kind of comfort them again, reiterate with some comforting, soothing words. And then what you do is, after a few nights, you move your chair a little bit further away from the cot. A few more nights, a little bit further away from the cot, until you're eventually out of the room. Now again, it requires a lot of discipline from parents or because you've got to sit next to them. And also some older babies do get worked up because they see you sitting there and then they think, why are you not picking me up? And some babies can get worked up. And this is why it's important to know your own baby and your baby's temperament when you're picking a method that's right for you. The fourth method, and probably one of the most popular methods, is controlled crying. Now you might hear of this called the check and console method, the Ferber method, graduated extinction. It's all under that same, it's just different names for the same method. And basically what this method involves is putting your baby down, drowsy but awake, leaving them. If they cry, waiting a few minutes before you go to them. When you go to them, without picking them up, you just comfort them. So that might be a gentle rub, a little bit of shushing or gentle pat or some soothing words. Once they've calmed down, you leave. And then you wait again. If they start crying, you wait a few minutes. So you might start out by waiting 2 or 3 minutes, and then the next time you extend it. So you wait 5 minutes. Go in, repeat, next time wait 7 minutes as an example. So it's controlled. Generally you won't go past 10 or 15 minutes. So once you get to 10 or 15 minutes, if your baby's crying, you hold it at that 10 or 15 minutes for each check-in. And then the last method, which is probably one of the most controversial, is the cry it out method, also known as extinction. Now, obviously, some parents just can't cope with hearing their child cry, because with this method, really, you put your baby down and most supporters of this method say don't go in at all while until your baby basically falls asleep. So they cry and they eventually fall asleep. Now that might sound harsh to some parents, but the parents who have done it basically say there's no more crying, because more crying time, should I say. So think about it. If you do control crying, they might cry for a week before they don't cry. With Cry It Out, they might only cry for 2-3 nights and then they're done and they're kind of sleeping. So the overall crying, people who do controlled Cry It Out say is actually less. So those are the five methods, sleep training methods. Now, for me personally, I couldn't do Cry It Out. That's not to say that it's not a viable option. Of course, it definitely is. But when I was researching, I decided that I was going to choose a method that, yes, it had some crying, but it wasn't a Cry It Out. And like I said, I did lots of research when I was looking for a sleep training method. And eventually I came across a program that I used. And the reason I chose this particular program is because it covered sort of 3 of the 5 methods. It talked about fading, the chair method, as well as controlled crying. And it really allowed me to customize the plan for my own child and my own circumstances, which is what I loved about the program. And I used that program, and within 2 weeks I had my son sleeping through the night. So if you'd like to know more about the program that I use to successfully sleep train my son, then just click on the links below and find out more about this program. Good luck with your sleep training. I know that it can be challenging in the beginning, and those first few nights it does require consistency, but you will get there in the end. And once your baby's sleeping through the night, your baby's happier, you are happier, and generally the whole family ends up being happier. So good luck. Till next time. Bye.